Christian Bale, School and Cadre. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I recently completed the series on Christian Bale, who was placed under the Tudor scope to ask the question, and then to answer it, is he an empath, a narcissist, or something else? Those of you that have followed the series will be aware that the determination was that he is an empath, with detailed reasons provided based on the evidence to arrive at that conclusion. This then means we need to consider the school and cadre of empath. In order to help people understand about narcissism and those affected by it, I have provided more information about the empath, the individual who is most likely to be ensnared by the narcissist, and I've explained in detail why the empath is the person most likely to be ensnared and kept ensnared. As part of this, and as a consequence of my regular dealings with empathic individuals, I've created the concept of schools and cadres to help people better understand the dynamic and also to better understand themselves. There is plenty of material amongst my work, both written and oral, that goes into greater detail about the concept of the empath, the various behaviours of the empath, and more information about the schools and cadre. But what about Christian Bale? Well, let's start by looking at his school. There are 4 schools: standard, codependent, super, contagion. They all have similarities, and then they have certain differences. I would see that as a consequence of the childhood that he had with regard to the moving around and the divorce, that there will be a slight sliver of codependency generated by those events, but only minor in nature. Bale's general behaviour doesn't denote codependency, and therefore I would ascribe just 5% to codependency. Bale exhibits a fundamental and deep understanding of the characters and roles that he inhabits. In some instances, that might be as a consequence of superlative character trait acquisition on the part of a very evolved narcissist, but we've established he isn't one. And therefore, for him to have that is a combination of natural ability, but also as a consequence of the fact that he really, truly understands people because he has an affinity with regard to them, that he feels what they feel. Not only is he able to place himself in the shoes of certain individuals, which then translates into his fantastic performances, he actually feels at a visceral level other people. And therefore, to that end, I identify that there is a strong minority element of contagion in respect of Christian Bale, which I give a value of 30%. This then leaves us with 65% to potentially divide up between standard and super. I don't see the applicability of standard to Christian Bale, and therefore I deem that the majority school that he belongs to is super. This is because it's quite clear that there comes a point with Christian Bale that if you push him too far, he will respond. He is not aggressive in the first instance, but there is only so much that he will tolerate, which has been demonstrated with regard to the conduct he demonstrated concerning his mother and sister, and also in respect of the bust-up that took place on the set of Terminator Salvation. He is an individual which can take plenty of aggravation, but when it reaches a particular point, it crosses a line, and this is much earlier than compared to other empathic individuals, hence why we saw the eruptions as we did, and rather that they were reported about, and that they took place at an earlier stage in the interactions. It's evident that he is an individual that will not suffer fools gladly, but he is not an unpleasant person. He is an individual that stands on his principles, and the fact that he fights and maintains the privacy for him and his family so greatly is also furthermore indicative of his super empathy. Accordingly, with regard to school, I determine that Christian Bale is 65% super empath, 30% contagion empath, 5% codependent empath. Having addressed his school, what about his cadre? Well, it is evident that there is an aspect of Bale whereby, like Batman, the role that he demonstrated so ably, he rides into battle on the behalf of others. This is demonstrative by way of his charitable and philanthropic works. Nevertheless, this isn't something that is all-consuming for him. It is not something that engulfs his life on a daily basis. It isn't the case, for instance, that he's involved in activism on a regular basis. It comes up from time to time. Accordingly, whilst the saviour aspect is there, I would only regard it as significant and ascribe a value of 20% to it. It's evident that Bale exudes charisma. In his status as both supporting actor and leading man, he's able to carry films, and in some instances steals it away from those that have a bigger billing than he has. A somewhat enigmatic individual, nevertheless, people are drawn to him, as exhibited by the many fans who appreciate his work and also are interested in his life. He exhibits that magnetism, often enhanced by the privacy that he maintains, and in the circumstances, magnet forms part of his cadre. I believe that it is at a significant level and ascribe a value of 25%. Much of the time, we see Bale as a calm and considered figure, but we know beneath the surface there are substantial emotions which can either be relied upon to be exhibited in his acting work or, as we have seen glimpses of, in his private life. There are certain circumstances which would cause him to burst forth with emotion, and therefore, whilst it is not something that is seen regularly, it is there, and to that we should ascribe a proportion of Giza, and therefore I deem that it is only an insignificant amount, giving it a value of 15%. This then leaves us with carrier and martyr. I don't deem that martyr is applicable to Christian Bale, rather demonstrated by the devotion that he shows to his family, the defence of his family that he exhibits, for instance, defending his wife, the way that he has continued to work despite being particularly wealthy, the fact that he always provides a sterling performance. He never dials it in when it comes to his performances. The fact that he engages in undertaking arduous roles for a period of time. He was certainly undertaking more indie roles than he did with regard to blockbusters. And this demonstrates an ability to carry the load, an ability to be a foot soldier and a Trojan. And with that in mind, I see that he exhibits a very strong element in that regard and provide 40%. Accordingly, the outcome with regard to his cadre is that he's 40% carrier, 20% saviour, 25% magnet, and 15% geezer. The overall outcome for Christian Bale is that he is a majority super empath and a quad hybrid, exhibiting the differing proportions as I have explained. If you'd like to learn what you might be, if you're curious as to whether you're an empath or something else, then you ought to put yourself through the empath detector. You'll find details in the video description by going to the Knowledge Vault, and in the detector section you will find the empath detector. Or you can also find it in the menu bar at narcsite, narcsite.com, and in the detector section clicking on empath detector. If If you'd like to learn what you are, and as a thank you for watching my videos about Christian Bale, you can get 50% off the cost for a limited period of time by putting Bale, B-A-L-E, 50, the numbers 50, Bale 50, in at the checkout, and you'll automatically get 50% off the cost of the Empath detector. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.